Okay, I'm gonna try something new. I'm gonna sit here in the dark, leave that light off. And I'm gonna give you an introduction. The introduction is about the 4 S's. So if you did as I requested and you purchased the chainsaw safety system, and then you started your own system somewhere, if you don't own a chainsaw. If you do own a chainsaw and you haven't used it in years, well, then you've taken that chainsaw and found a way to go out and do some work for people. So I'm going to tell you the way I think this is working out. This discovery I had of the universal safety system. And I'm going to take a couple little notes here to see if I covered all the things that I'd thought about when I made the plan for this approach. The person behind, the persona behind all of these words coming out of my mouth, I turn over to the source of the wisdom. It's the source of all wisdom. That's why I started with the chainsaw safety system, because the word saw, the source of all wisdom. And then I put a little J in front of that, because that's the direction of the source. Am I saying that there's some entity out there that's got a little letter J as a name and it's a source of all power? I'm just saying it's in that direction. I ain't putting a name on it yet until I get to the product. So the word goes out and the word comes back. And then I check it with the truth, what's going on around me. So I started this 10 years ago, working with chainsaw safety system. The chainsaw safety system is the first S in the system. In the USS, the first S had to do with the chainsaw safety system because it has to do with safety. And safety always has to be the first. That's one of the rules of the system. It's only got 2 rules, as you know. Safety first. That's why I came out to CSS first. Did I have that, think through the whole process of it? No. It just happened in my life. I got into that. And I found out that when I start teaching people with the pure intent, I'm not trying to make money on it. I'm not trying to increase my status. I'm not trying to become rich and famous. I'm just telling these people that are sitting out in front of me what I think is the truth when it comes to running a chainsaw. Is that teaching them a philosophy? Yes, it is. I'm teaching the philosophy of safety, the first S. And that S is a member of a cubital set of data. Things that haven't happened yet. It's out in a superposition, is what the scientists call it. In the system, I take the word and I put the words to use. Instead of just running them out, I put the words to use, so the right inflection in the word. I don't want my inflection to indicate to you in any way that I think I'm smarter than you or have a better ability than you. So I don't want to teach you things that are going to hurt your heart, mind, or soul. I want you to take it at your own speed. If you want to take the rest of your life to want your first system going, that's fine with me. Because you're doing just as much with that one as some that have 1,000. The same work is being done. That's why we had to start with the workers. Because the workers have to do with the J's, the 4 J's. So you're actually balancing the 4 S's and the 4 J's. That's what you're doing. You're balancing that in your life. Your best product is out there. You get little glimpses of it. You see little glimpses of your final product, your best final product. You see little glimpses here and there, and then you follow your life. So I had some of these videos I made that didn't work out right. And some of there's med-ents videos. I've come to the conclusion, because I had so much trouble downloading the last segment of the triad. There's 3 med-ents is all stuck together. So it's kind of like a triangle. And the closing loop, I forgot to turn on the camera, so I made a mistake. And what the voice of reason told me is that it's only a mistake if you assume it's a mistake. You have to ask yourself some questions. Can I go back and correct the mistake? Or is it something that's impossible to correct? And there's no such thing as that. If a mistake can be made, then there's a way to make it so the mistake doesn't happen. By definition, you can't have a mistake unless there's something else you wanted to do that was different than that. It was a better result. So you can actually control your environment if you get keyed in on this sequence in this presentation that Jay taught me, started me out 10 years ago. So then it goes on from safety, it goes on, what's the next one is security. And that's what the USS is about. So the USS could be the first book, but it's written on a turn. You think I'm smart enough to figure that out and had this all planned out so that it comes out right at the end? I'm not. I'm not that smart. Yeah, I got a college education, but I barely passed. Yes, I'm a surveyor, but I made the cutoff on the exams by just a few percentage points. So I'm like I was always been just over the line for each thing. My chainsaw history in safety is vast. I've probably got more stumps out there than almost everybody in this area, even if they're professional cutter. Because nowadays the cutting's done by machines. So I've probably got more stumps out there than most people. I've gone through that. That part of my life was instituted into the system. I took the wisdom out of it, the truth out of it, and passed it on to other people so they wouldn't get hurt. My intentions were honorable. And how do I know that? Because I got back respect. Not an adoring respect. We love you, we love you. It's just, no, not that kind of respect. It's on the other side of the coin of that kind of respect. Respect, you know that the people respect you because they repeat what you told them. You teach them to do something and they do it and they come out better for it. That kind of respect. It's not really me that does it. It's them that adjust their attitude and behavior to line up with the truth, and then they go out and do their best. So the USS is actually based on security, the second S. Why is it security? Because you don't want to teach something to somebody that's going to hurt them. I don't take my 10-year-old kid out there and say, now when you might get a kickback on this saw, so make sure you keep your thumb wrapped around that handle. Go ahead, cut that tree up. Yeah, I gave them good information, helpful, safety information. But I'm asking too much of them. That's what the USS is. It's supposed to teach you that everything's in a superposition. And it is. Science has proved it. So that's more or less for where I got into the writers. I'm speaking to the writers. I changed from chainsaws. I retired from that. And I started writing to the writers because I'm a writer. I've always been a writer. All my life. I wrote poems when I was a kid. I hid it from my friends because they thought that was sissy to write poems. If you told me you wrote a poem, they'd probably beat you up and say, write me a poem about that. So you didn't mention those kinds of things when I was a kid. So I'm a writer. Here's the proof here. There's 3 notebooks right here. There's 2 notebooks right there. And if you can zoom in, there's a whole box of them here. I didn't just pile a bunch of notebooks in there to make you think I'm a writer. I could go through every one, and everyone's full of writing. What kind of writing? Longhand writing. It's longhand. I write it down as the wisdom comes into your brain. You write it down in your own hand. So I can go into the first book I started writing and compare that writing to this, and it might be a little different because I'm 10 years older, or maybe 15 years older for some of those books. A couple of them might be 20. So I've been doing this all my life. This is the first time I started collecting them, these journals. I start collecting them now. Used to be I'd look at them and say, yeah, that was good teaching. In the garbage it would go. A journal about personal things going on in my head. When did I start collecting them? When I said I'm collecting them for you. I'm collecting them for you so that you don't have to go through all this. You can make a quantum leap. And how do you do that? With the 4 S's and the 4 J's. That's how you do it. Work the 4 S's and work the 4 J's in your life simultaneously as much as possible. With a good intent. You want to bring those people into this system of working through your life with those 4 S's and those 4 J's. So the universal safety system was security for writers. That's what it is for the authors. People that think, I want to write a book. If you want to write a book, then start with the chainsaw safety system. Make an allegory out of it for yourself. How it pertains to your life. Each little segment of the book. Matter of fact, each slide in the chainsaw safety system is a parable. It's a parable about your life, what's going on with you. Did I put it together that way? No. There's a voice of reason that put it together that way as I taught it. Things would come out of my mouth in a lecture and I'd say, whoa, where did I get that understanding? I never understood that before until I started writing on this board. With all those students going up and down with their head. That's where I got the wisdom. That's where I came up with the source of all wisdom. Because I put that voice together with the one that I hear when I'm worshiping. I was in the church at the time, worshiping, my hands up in the air with everybody else. And a feeling of peace comes over you. Exhilaration. A different kind of excitement that's separate from the sexual type. That's the SEX and the CEX. You might have read about that in the Universal Safety System. If you didn't read about it, you just got it. So you really don't have to read the Universal Safety System. The only reason why I got it is because I used it as a gauge. So I sell the CSS and I sell the USS. And I'm the only person in the entire world, except maybe a machine somewhere, that knows what value is coming out of these two if they're even. I charge the same amount for this book as I do this book. All I've got to do is look at how many I sold. So I can see if the system is working. If the system's working and those two kind of stay balanced, I know that people are following the rules. They're reading the CSS first, and then they go to the USS. That's why the USS is shaped like a box. It's a cat in a box. So it goes on the same type of principles that Schrodinger taught. What did he teach? He taught about kinetic energy and potential energy, how they affect the quantum world. How does the flow of a river affect the quantum? So you start getting things where you get an overlap in the reasoning between quantum mechanics and general relativity. There's overlap where I use that same word when I'm talking about this. And you go in the Bible and you read and you see where Jesus of Nazareth mentioned rivers a lot. He talked about rivers. What other things did he have parables about? Working, planting, sowing, all kinds of manual things that you do. And that's where that chainsaw safety system comes in. You're pulling in the workers. USS pulls in the writers. So what am I going on to now? I'm going on to videos. How am I at videos? This is the first time I've ever done it. It's why I don't mind sitting here in the dark, because I screwed up a couple. I can't put those online. There's good information on there. So what comes to me is that those are just in my computer for my grandkids. They'll watch those. You'll never see them. So you're going to get by without that information? Yes. How? Because you make a quantum leap. I mentioned that in the chainsaw safety system. You're making a quantum leap from the safety. You make a quantum leap into the security. You make a quantum leap where from there? Into the science. That's where the videos come in. You're teaching science in there. And as a matter of fact, as a consequence of that teaching, you're also getting into the sanity part. The definition, the separation between the social science and the sanity. What, you mean the safety system gives you a way to regulate that? Yeah, it does, because it's been here since the beginning. The universal safety system started when Jesus of Nazareth said, "It is finished." How does that make sense? It doesn't. It's just like quantum mechanics. If you try to make sense out of it, it means that you're barking up the wrong tree. The raccoon's in the other tree. There's a line between those trees, a boundary between them. See how that allegory speaks to you on a quantum level? You understand what I'm talking about. It's just like people that did not follow the rules, CSS. They did not start a safety system, a blank SS or an XSS. What's the difference between the two? One has to do with strangers, one has to do with family members. You figure out which one is which. So the videos is actually the video editing safety system, VES. That's what I'm moving into. And you're just going to get what you get. All I can tell you is there won't be any cuts in them. I learned that right off, because the one I was going to put cuts in, I couldn't download. I pushed the wrong button. It started deleting these cells, these files I didn't want deleted, working with the originals, and the download went to just a snail's crawl. Like it took almost 20 hours. But I was getting them, so I just let it run. Because if I had backed out of that, unplugged that camera or shut off the computer, I'd never see that file again, and it was important. And as a matter of fact, in the file itself, I made a mistake that deleted some of it. So you'll see those types of things in the Med-Ents if you watch the Med-Ents videos after this introduction. So there's going to be a sequence. I shared this with one of my other SPs. I believe there's going to be a sequence in it to where you have to watch these videos and the lectures in a certain sequence, and they'll have a number on them, and I'll put those in my channel. And if that comes true, you're looking at it, because it's not done yet. So I can see that stump out there. How I'm going to get from here to there depends on that source of all wisdom. How well am I keeping the rules? If I'm keeping the rules well, my intent is pure, I will end up at that goal. Just like all these fell into place same way. VES is next. Is there something after that that's going to pertain 100% to the sanity part? Yes, there is. What is that? When it's 100% sanity in my world, is when I'll look around and see all people doing the right thing in public. Everybody, when you're in public, do the right thing. When you get home and you close the door, do what the hell ever you want. As long as you're not hurting somebody in your family, because you're in the XSS. Excess. Excess S. I just got a revelation. XSS. It's excess. That's where your C1 spirit goes really high when you get under your own roof. The C2 spirit is when you're out from under your roof. That's why he said, how do you bring your C1 spirit out into the public? You've only got to bring it as far as your neighbors. That's all the further you got to bring it. You don't have to bring love out into the public. The love that you have of yourself and the big oneness are both the same thing. They're both the same thing. How do I know that? Because this fits together. My life story and your life story will end in the proper place. It's just the crap in the middle we're watching through right now. That's got to do with those two C's. See, here goes my writer thing again. See, I want to show you that. Can you see that? Two C's coming together with a line in the middle. That should be a quantum symbol. Because of the understanding I just got out of about the excess S. That could mean excess what? What? Just fill in an S word that isn't a cuss word. So you're having problems in your family. It's got to do with some excess. You're getting in the S's. Safety, security, science, and sanity. Look for an excess in one of those if you're having problems in your family. And you'll see the one immediately. The one that's the problem will stand out like a chartreuse kickback. That plane. That parable in that kickback in the plane coming back. You'll be able to see it before it happens because of how you handle the saw, the spirit of all wisdom. There's a parable in there. You can follow, go into the chainsaw safety system. It'll lead you through this parable. Did I know that when I wrote the chainsaw safety system? A little bit. I just saw little flashes of it. Whose name did I work under? The name that I have in the other reality. People say, oh man, that's getting freaky. It's not freaky, you're looking at it. Both exist in the same place. They have to. They don't have a choice. The tree doesn't have a choice where it's going to fall. Those subatomic particles are inside of you just as much as your cells and your atoms and your chemistry. The electrical things going on in your brain, they're just as much a part of this entire reality as every other thing. It's just that you sit at the center of yours, and you're the only one there. You're X. And then go in the universal safety system. And before you go in there, you have a question in your head and do a med-ents in the Bible. Go into the red print of the Bible and do a med-ents in there. Little c, little a. And just randomly read some stuff. And then ask your question. What's your question going to be? Whatever's on your mind about stress or depression or anxiety, fear, something unknown that's going to happen, something big's going to happen socially. So you just go into the Bible, read that red print. Then come out, look at the universal safety system. See if you can find something in there in a short amount of time that coincides with what you just learned in the red print. When you get that straightened out, move on to the next stage. What's the next stage? You go into the videographers. Always assume that the camera's on and you're being recorded. Because in the coming years, that's going to be true. You're not going to be able to go anywhere where some machine doesn't know where you are. It'll either be a satellite or it'll be something down here that's on the earth in the quantum computer. Everybody will know where you are if they have the right power to find out where you are, the right authority to find out where you are. So this system that's being set up is not just for me, and it's not just for my wife, it's not just for my family and my kids, it's also for you. And who is you? The avatar of all of you. That's who I'm speaking to. Who is the avatar of all of you? Jay is the avatar of everybody that listens to this video and gets this far in the system. Your J inflates. It's what causes the universe to inflate. I hope that the Creator is not relying on Earth to substitute for that inflation in the universe. Whether it's going out or in, it's like it breathes that inflation. But that's getting into stuff that's far beyond an introduction. So, the rest of the introduction, then I'm going to quit. Should be about a half an hour. Be careful when you watch the videos. Make sure that you have a question in your mind. Something that you want settled in your head, in your life. And then watch the video. If you go into it with an attitude that you just want to prove it wrong, or that it's just some guy trying to get rich, or it's a bad philosophy, it's going to lead to social ruin. If those are the kind of attitudes you have if you go into the video, my advice is don't watch it. Forget about the system. Forget about the universal safety system. Just stay in your own personal safety system, whatever that is, and try to keep the rules in that system. Have the right PPE, have the right tool, do the right handling, and make the right stump. If you do that, you'll get the same reward at the end of time, whatever that is, in the next dimension, heaven, whatever you want to call it. Whatever reward there is there in your theology, you will get that. No matter if you join the system or you don't join the universal safety system. You can stick with your CSS, common sense. Just stick with that and try to do positive things. And if that's what you're doing already and you're scared of the USS, you don't like quantum mechanics, then just don't do it. Your time hasn't come yet. You'll come in, you'll be here. It might be at the end, or it might be somewhere between here and there. We're just going forward without you, that's all. And we'll report back. How are we going to report back? With the source of all wisdom. You'll get it. You're coming. We all end up at the right spot in the end. That's in Med-Ins number 1. When we go to the dam. And then we come back from the dam. We go back to the door the next time. Out in one inch, come back in the other. There was a third one. We go to what we passed each time. We went up the edge of the river. And then we came back and there's the island. So the third one was go on to the island, the source. And in that Med-Ins, I take all the little things that happen and try to make sense out of them in the quantum probability type thing, based on the 4 S's and the 4 J's. And I apologize on the third one there. I got a little upset at the end. Used some non-system words, but that spoke to my ents, and that's what the whole Med-Ins is about. When I get to the end, I get the answer. Where did I get the answer from? It came out of my mouth, is what the answer came. Because I started cussing out the thing that was a problem for me. And that's what the Med-Ins is about. Ask your question when you go in. And listen to the words coming out of your mouth as you exit. And you'll have your answer. That teaches you to work in a CA. In a protected area, certain area you can step into and you can step out of. It releases stress. It gets rid of stress and it gets rid of depression. You won't have those things in your life if you're working the system, any system. But you'll find out when you start working one, this works so well with this type of stress, you'll want to do it with another. I won't have to sell it to you. And you won't have to pay $11.99 for it. The ones and the nines, there's a parable in there. Numerologists like that. What we have right now is I'm an 11 and you're a 99. There's two teachers teaching you. 1 plus 1. And there's a whole bunch of nines looking at us. It could just as well be 11, 99, 9999999 down to a millionth of a penny. But what's the point? You get the idea at 11.99. You see the picture. There's not just two nines looking at us. Or maybe there is. What it is what it is. Actually, what it is what is it. That's the right way to say it. So I'm trying to do it the right way now. I'm going to move on to VESS. I don't know how long it's going to last. I don't know how many videos you're going to get. I don't know any of that stuff yet. That's just the path that's got to be taken through the random part. And this is the first and only introduction. I'm not making any more introductions. I get a little bit stressed out myself trying to figure out where this is going. And I want it to be fun. If it stops being fun, then Jay already knows I ain't doing it. And he's fine with that. So, all I can say is all I can say.